What's going on, everybody? Zen here. We're going to do it a little different today, but this is an extremely important idea, and I think this will be, I don't know, I haven't seen anybody, I haven't seen anybody out here bringing this kind of stuff forth, and I think it's very, very important. So here we go. We're talking about phosphorus, and how this plays a huge role in everything. Let's look at the word. Let's look at the semen in our bodies. Let's look at the energy source, which is the sun. And let me just walk you through a couple things here. If we go to our Latin roots for our language, we can see that the word phosphorus comes from, here we go, phos, which means light, for, to carry, so to carry light to us. So phosphorus. We should really consider the foods that have phosphorus in them. We should consider the idea that I was speaking about in a couple of my other videos right before this, that when a man ejaculates, the first thing that the body does is it makes more semen, because that is the most important thing for the body to do, is to reproduce itself. It's how life works. So when the male depletes his semen, as you get older and your body's not making enough quick enough because of the lack of light in your body, and we're going to get into that a little bit in a second, it goes to your kidneys and starts depleting your kidneys. Well, if we just look at the idea of the semen and what semen is, if you get a black light out, you can see the glowing nature of the semen, the energy, the life force, the light. Now, as I was talking about in my other video, we got into phosphorus, and here we go. Human bodies glowing. We got into phosphorescence, and the role that the gin and tonic played in getting rid of bacteria in the body. And we had talked about how the gin and the richer people, the people that were consuming gin and tonic during the I think it was like the 1800s over in England, they weren't getting sick, and other people were coming down with serious illness. I forget what it was off the top of my head, but what they were consuming is quinine. And quinine, if you take a bottle of tonic water, it's a bitter element. If you take a bottle of tonic water and you put a black light up to it, it glows in the dark. There's light in there. And so the major theory meaning the Ori, the light, the idea here is that the light within the quinine, the light within whatever it might be that you're consuming, builds your body, the light body. It builds life, and it destroys bacteria. It destroys darkness. And if we get into why human bodies glow, like when we get to like the jellyfish and all of these other creatures, that they glow brighter, well, they might have something to do with the amount of phosphorus, phytoplankton, things like this that they're consuming. How much light are they consuming? This goes back into cooking foods. This goes into this quinine. It goes into tonic water and consuming phosphorus to basically increase the light quotient in your body. And if your urine is coming out and you take a black light out again, and it's always the joke that if you go to a hotel room, you'll see piss and semen everywhere if you have a black light. Well, that energy within, that glowing light and life force, goes into all of my other videos I've been working on, and it even goes into harvesting energy and who you are as a magnetic electrical being, which bind together to produce light. This is like illumination, to be illuminated personally within oneself. And they talk about pushing the cerebral spinal fluid, which is connected to the semen, which is connected to the life force, up the spine and into your consciousness or your head. And this has to do with producing realities. So, my suggestion for people is to find yourself quinine, find yourself a source of light, meaning find seeds and plants and things that are glowing, things that, if you walk out in nature, the things that are glowing that aren't running from you are these fruits and vegetables, and the higher the fruit in the sky, the brighter it is, the more effect it's going to have on your consciousness and your light in your body and your energy, because light is energy. So, I want to get. Let me step in. I'll do this another time, but I want. There's this guy. His name is Aaron Dover. I think I mentioned him in the last video, and he talks about what these Tibetan flags are for. He talks about what all these flagpoles are for, and basically saying that there is quite a bit of energy within harvesting static electricity, maybe way more than we know. And if that static electricity can be garnered outside of us, it can certainly be garnered within us. I mean, go take a a balloon and rub it against your head and see what happens. It causes a static charge, which is both electric and magnetic. So there's something to these flags and what they're made of. And if you look into, I don't have it on here now, and I'm not going to look it all up for you right here, but if you looked up what flags are made out of, and they do an alkali coating on them, that might have something to do with how the energy is being harvested. And that also might have to do with why people prefer to move their body in an alkaline direction. So getting back to these Latin roots here, there's a couple of funny ones I thought were interesting. If you look up the word, if you go to school and there's a proctor there to look over a test, what can we find out what a proctor is? A proct means anus, and or, where are we at here? Oh, went the wrong way. Or, let's see here. Means mouth. So a proctor means ass mouth. Interesting, huh? Then you get into pinea, which means pine cone, which, this is what else I wanted to get into for you guys. Pennies. If you consider money and why a penny was made of the material it was made of for the longest time, copper pennies, and their use in copper wires to produce electricity, there's a way that you can charge pennies. This goes into the find a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have some luck. It could be good or bad, because there'll be a charge put on it. And if you find pennies before, I think it's 1982, they're actually still made of copper, and you can charge a penny. You can use it for something. And when we look at the word pinea, or pine cone, and its connection to the pineal gland, and also a pinnae, which would be the word penne, what you can use copper for as a shielding unit, building a pyramid, and it's used in so many things to do with electricity. So I think there's quite a big connection there. There's a couple other fun ones here. Oh, with a pork. So pork, pig. So I think you can understand now why you call a pig produces pork. P-O-R-C. And you can look at polio. The word polio means gray. So if we get into even more of these ideas of nutrition, health, and medical establishments, and the word polio meaning gray, it just means gray. Does that have something to do with the lack of light within a body? And what was their supposed solution? And people still think that polio was cured, even though if you get into the history of it, it was never cured. It's basically illegal for doctors to use the words polio. They've just changed the words. It's the same symptoms, and it's the same outcome. It's the same dis-ease. But nobody, oh, well, we cured polio. No, it would never happen. Not through the medical establishment. All they did was change the name. So yeah, there's a couple really interesting. If you you should feel free to get yourself onto this Latin roots for biology page, and you can look into some of these words and really find a closer representation to what our English language is trying to say or is saying, but you don't speak what they call a dead language, even though our entire language is based on it. It's not a dead language. It's very used. It's used in everything, so it keeps the ideas and understandings of letters and values hidden. And as I always talk about rota, it's right here on this page. Rota means to turn, or a wheel. So it's the wheel of rota. So it goes into Torah as well. And it has to do with education system. So I think that's all I wanted to bring out right here. I guess I'll try to put this together completely for everyone, the way I normally put this together. But once again, this connection between looping your urine, looping your Orin, phosphorus, light, the light bringer, illuminating yourself internally, turning yourself on electrically, charging yourself, putting your body and your temple back into order, and to be able to be a provider of a light source. And as I've always said, if you have ever fasted, if you've ever done a juice fast, if you've ever especially fasted on urine, people will say you're glowing. This has to do with even the energy that's put into a woman when she's pregnant. She has more life in her, so she glows because of the life force of the child. So they have a new seed in the womb that is growing. And this is why you should start eating sprouts, because those sprouts are freshly coming out of the ground and they're full of bursting forth information and life. And the amount of energy in those per pound probably might be some of the highest on the planet. People get into this game of superfoods and all of these ideas of what they think nutrition is, but once again, nutrition means coming from the nut or the sun and energy of the sun. See, here you go right here, nux or to nut. And if we bring this back into lux, and there's a here we go. Where are we at? Or here it is. Oh, it's not on here. Okay. Well, nonetheless, I kind of got sidetracked there. as I was getting into about the word nut and what its connection with light, as I've done in my other videos, or the word nucleus, as you can see here, Nuclx, spells nucleus, comes from the nut or the source of something, which is the base point for producing that energy and that light. And I think we can really start to come to terms with the types of information we need to be providing our bodies, our temples. And it's not these here we go, let's just walk right through it. Proteins, let's see if we can find it. I didn't do this before. I said I was just going to do it right in front of you. Let's see if it's on this page. Pro, in front of. Again, it means like in front of, or a first thing. So let's see here. There it goes. Prot, like Proteus or protein. It means first. So it's the first source of something. So to think people are getting protein from meat, it's just it's a misnomer. It's a fiction. It's not true. It might be the first source of meat, but obviously the meat came from eating the vegetable, which came from the sun. So the first source is the sunshine. So you'd say protein comes from the sun, and then if you can make that disconnect to the seed, then the seed is then the source of the information and the first source of the sunshine. So you can eat of the seeds and the nuts and what grows forth from that. That would be first source. Beyond that, that's not first source. It would be a second source protein, meaning somebody had to eat it, something had to eat it and consume it, and it's pulled apart its light quotient. It pulled apart the original quotient of light to make itself, and then walk around as an animal. And then we go, no, let's take that animal and burn it. Now you've just turned it into coal, basically. You've taken out the blood, which was the catalyst for life, with all the nutrition in it, the nutrients that came from the information from the sun, and then we burn it, and we are eating basically charcoal. And unless you're eating your meat, as we've done this before, straight from the source, collecting it yourself, then there's not a very good reason. Okay, everybody. I think I'll just leave this here for now and come back and talk to you guys a little later. Cheers.